Thanks, Usab. Sounds like you have a good start on your program. For those of you keeping up on the app, here's your new code. Make sure you check in. Got a thin crowd, so we want to make sure we account for all of you. All right. Our next presentation is from Mississippi State's Raspet Flight Research Laboratory. Our presenter is Rob Primo. He works as the director of the Raspet Flight Research Laboratory at Mississippi State University, and he'll be giving you an update and rundown of that lab.
Mississippi State University is a Carnegie Mellon R1 Research Institute. It means we're top 100 in the United States, and we have over $300 million of expenditures each year. We like to pride ourselves on solving problems and integrating solutions for those problems. I want to thank JD. It was at the AUVSI recently that he reached out to my staff and asked if we would come give a presentation. Mississippi State has 14 research centers and institutes. We focus on applied research. I do run two of those, the director for the Center for Cyber Innovation, and as mentioned, director of Raspet. We talked about this briefly yesterday. The Assure organization was started in 2015. The FAA found tremendous problems with integrating UAS into the national airspace. This consortium is now up to 29 US and international universities and over 100 partners. We have about 25 focus areas for research. And we've had about 85 projects to date. All the things you've been talking about, Assure has been taking a look at for the last several years. If we cannot give you the answer, we could find you the answer or do the work for yourselves. A lot of the products we have at Raspet are available to you all at very low cost or no cost. Some of our accolades, we are the official UAS test site for Department of Homeland Security. I did mention that Mississippi State is the center of excellence for the FAA. We do have the largest, most capable UA fleet in academia. I love coming to these conferences because all we see are Group 1 UASs. You're going to see we have Group 3s and Group 4s, and we truly are the largest in academia. 50,000 square miles plus. It's actually approaching 65,000 square miles of approved COA airspace that we utilize. I can go 6.5 miles from my runway, and I'm operating in the test center. I'd like to highlight this. We are a technology incubator for industry. Those are a number of our industry partners. I will highlight in the mid-'80s to the mid-'90s, we partnered with Honda. We designed, built, tested, and delivered the Honda business jet from an all-composite material. We have Stark Aerospace, again, a number of companies that are in and around the Golden Triangle in Starkville, Mississippi. We've already touched on this. I think this is an opportunity for the Department of Transportation to leverage what is being done underneath Assure through some of the other activities. What do? We focus on research, development, test, evaluation, engineering activities. On the front of that Tiger Shark, that's a Group 3. In front of that Tiger Shark is a system that was designed, built, integrated, and tested by my engineers. It is a see and avoid technology that we're utilizing for detect and avoid to enable BV loss in the national airspace. My staff is about 60. Half of that are undergraduate and graduate research assistants or students. Almost my entire staff is US citizens. We're focused on business operations, engineering, flight tests, and acquisition or program management. All my pilots are Part 107 as well as private pilot certified, and all my mechanics are A&P certified. A couple of our capabilities, we'll talk about a number of these things in a couple slides. A lot of interest on storm support. We have a number of contractors that we work with to take a look at those activities after you've had a disaster. We talked briefly about acoustics in UAVs. I just read in the last day that a city in Texas was upset and was going to their city council because Amazon was flying drones over the tops of their houses. Acoustic issues are going to be even more of a concern as we go forward. Some things that we do, I want to talk about our mission partners. Department of Defense, we do work with them, SOCOM as well as the Army. We've talked briefly about swarming technologies. We have some activities going on there where we swarm. We also do work for law enforcement, utilizing drones as first responders. Underneath DHS, DHS has over 20 partners that all have unique UAS requirement needs. We have an IDIQ contract with DHS. We are designing, building, testing, and delivering a Type 1 prototype drone for HSI, which is a Homeland Security investigation. As I mentioned, underneath Assure, we do a lot of work for the FAA. We've partnered with industry to develop an anti-icing solution for large group UAS. It is a chemistry-based solution, which is extremely interesting and unique. The NOAA activities. For the past 6 years, we partnered with NOAA. We fly our large group 3 UAS. We map the Mississippi River, the Delta. We bring that data real time back to NOAA. It is processed through our high performance computing, and they update their models based in near real time. What we've seen is we've been able to go to foot accuracies for mapping the Delta to centimeter accuracies. What this allows NOAA to do is tell one partner or one customer, you need to leave your property because it's going to flood in 24 hours, but your neighbor is good to go. His property is not going to flood. That's a picture of the Taros aircraft, which is a Group 4. That aircraft was originally designed to be a piloted aircraft, and it's experimental aircraft. We removed the cockpit and replaced it with a fuel bladder. That's capable of 400 plus pounds of external payload, up to 20 hours flight endurance at 20,000 feet, and it loiters between 60 and 80 knots, up to 100 knots. These aircraft typically have a range capability of 60 to 100 nautical miles from the ground station. We have 2 of those. I have 4 Tiger Sharks, which are Group 3. Those operate up into the low teens, so 12, 13, 14,000 feet. They loiter about 40 to 60 knots. They have up to about 100-pound payload capacity. I have 2 mobile command centers, 40-foot and a 48-foot. We break down the UAs, put them in the back of the GCS, and go to wherever we need to go to operate. And we have a ton of small UAS throughout our capability. We're located in Starkville, Mississippi. We have a 50,000 plus square foot hangar. It's environmentally controlled. I have an autonomous systems research lab. It's basically a GPS denied environment that allows us to do some very interesting research. We have 12 motion sensor cameras in there that provide sub-millimeter accuracy to the UAs as we fly them. As I mentioned, we are into taking a look at swarming technologies and swarming activities. Think about how you would utilize that capability. A single UA as the brain with multiple other UAs flying in a close, I'll say, combat type formation. Law enforcement is extremely interested, Department of Defense as well. Several years ago, one of our grad students designed and built an acoustic anechoic chamber. We're doing state-of-the-art technologies, taking acoustic properties off the propellers, redesigning propellers, how can we make it more cooler, etc. I mentioned 50,000 plus square feet. We have special use airspace, restricted airspace, Camp Shelby, NASA, and I want to highlight south on the Gulf Coast, we have Singing River Island, which is a capability that gives multi-domain operations and testing. We have multiple cooperative agreements with airports, and throughout the 6 states, we're able to operate, again, about 65,000 miles of airspace for us. And there's Singing River Island. We're in negotiations right now to put in a 2 to 3,000 foot runway, which will allow Group 3 and Group 4 UAS operations. A lot of federal agencies and partners are interested in operating down there. As I mentioned, you can do multi-domain operations. If you want to fly and do activities, electronic warfare spectrum, etc., you can do that off the coast. Some things that we're doing. Another capability we're going to deliver this year, we've just received the funding for the first phase, which gives us the design and the hardware procurement for an all-weather laboratory capability. We do cyber vulnerability testing. We're building a cyber vulnerability range to counter UAS for the Army in Redstone. And as we go forward, we're looking at other activities. We have partnerships with Beta Technologies that was listed on an earlier slide. We're looking at electrically powered UAs, autonomous vehicles, etc. Questions? So here's one I could solve for you right now. Yesterday I heard a number of you are doing activities supporting your local state agencies in emergency response. We're one of the 4 universities through Assure that has developed the academic and the flight certification standards for FEMA first responders. Our work is continuing beyond this initial stage. If you are doing that work right now, you could reach out to your emergency management and you could get a seat in our class for free. It's 1 week. Yeah. FEMA controls the seats right now. The system utilizes 12 virtual laptops. That's where all your work is done in the classroom. It's all automated, so there's a master database of your qualifications. Just like you saw here today, we utilize the same sort of NIST flying capabilities and test. We go out into typically our North Farm or South Farm, and you fly that. Right now, FEMA has a number of courses throughout the year. I've asked FEMA to give me access to those 12 virtual machines when they're not teaching a FEMA course, and I could give you those courses as well. I think we could help you as you look at how do you make your case to your leadership on a return on investment. As I mentioned, we map the Mississippi River and the Delta for NOAA. We are very familiar and very capable with having significant amounts of data, processing that real time and showing the savings. And I think that data is there to show your leadership what the cost savings would be. It would be extremely interesting for the states that are neighboring Mississippi for us to take a look at what we're doing in disaster response and disaster preparedness. Where we have a river that's a common border, we could probably convince NOAA to let us do overflight data gathering of that river, so you could leverage that and get the data as well. Some other things that we're doing, that Taros aircraft, I don't know how the other states operate it. Mississippi's first responder network is on a single network. If that network goes down because of a natural disaster, all those first responders are going to be basically flailing. If you're in a very rural environment, we've had discussions with University of Mississippi Medical Center and our first responder leadership. I want to do a demo and take that Taros, put a SATCOM package on it, fly it 20 hours overhead, simulating that our first responder network has gone down. I'm going to have medics on the ground at Camp Shelby. We're going to either aerial deliver medical supplies or land and deliver, and we'll also deliver an iPad or a laptop that they can now do real-time triage in the field back to Jackson. State of Mississippi, we only have 4 medevac helicopters to respond to the entire state. So if you have a 2011 tornado that comes through, takes out most of the state, it's a big concern how your first responder is going to be able to meet that requirement. Yes, sir. So the question was, what's the syllabus or the curriculum look like for our first responders? We've developed 2 initial certifications. One's a basic and one's, I'll say, slightly more advanced. It probably mirrors a lot of what you're already seeing, but the thing it's going to give you is it's now giving you a recognized FEMA credential that theoretically when a natural disaster occurs and you show up with your group 1 saying, boss, I'm here to help, they're going to want to know how you're certified and who credentialed you. We expect to see in the language for this year's authorization that the Assure organization will be the certifying credential for FEMA. So that's going to give us some additional capabilities for everybody. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime. Love to have folks come over and take a visit. Any more information on the all-weather UAS tests? Yeah, so we operate here in Salt Lake City in a relatively urban environment. How are all those Group 1 UAs going to operate in this environment? We start changing. You talked about winds, but what happens when it rains? How are we going to establish limitations for flight operations? Again, we're going to be the only one in existence in the world that will have an indoor all-weather capability to test. So we could vary the humidity, the pressures, the temperatures, et cetera, and kind of establish some baselines of maybe we don't want to have 27 deliveries occurring simultaneously in downtown Salt Lake City when it's this type of environment. All right, thanks.